I'm looking for my glass. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. That was kind of you. Did one of you make this?
I helped my mom.
You helped your mom, right? You get an assist. Now, what do we do if that baby starts to cry? Ah, you said the magic word. Yeah, because I'm Scratch, but the message actually matters. And if the kids aren't happy and the audience is distracted, so every kid gets 3 strikes. So I'll keep score, and if we get, you know, it'll probably work out. Om Ganata Marandasya Ganasavakaya Jakshushramilitangina Tazinashi Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Hastachadisatani Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. So I thought, for some fun, that we would continue the other, was it last night? Where was I last night? I was here in Portland, right? Okay. So some Prabhupada pastimes. I first met Prabhupada in 1969. Actually, the first time, this is in Los Angeles, Southern California. The first time, well, I'll explain. We all went out from the LA temple. The old temple used to be on La Cienega. And Brahmananda was in New York, and Prabhupada was flying from New York to LA. And he called his brother Gargamuni, who was in charge of the LA temple. And we all went out to the airport on the appointed day to greet Srila Prabhupada. And the people, you know how they all come out the gate, you know, whatever, into the sitting area, whatever you call it, waiting lounge. And we waited and waited, enthusiastic kirtan and blowing conch shells, and after a while there was nobody else coming off the plane and no Prabhupada. You know why? We were at the wrong gate. True story. Prabhupada came out with Purushottam, his assistant, and took the taxi back to the temple. We were so embarrassed, you can imagine. But you know, my good friend Rabindra Sarup Prabhu, one of the early devotees, he said not only was Prabhupada the original pure devotee in ISKCON, but he was practically the only adult. Prabhupada, it's off the track, but when Prabhupada came to Detroit, the temple, and it's a whole story, but the Prabhupada was supposed to come in 2 weeks. And to get what is now the current temple in Detroit, Devasadan Mandir, all of a sudden that opportunity came to get that building. And so Prabhupada came. So all of a sudden, instead of 2 weeks, all of a sudden Prabhupada was coming in 7 days. So to get everything done that we should have maintained in the first place, but painting and cleaning and fixing and all the stuff we were doing, practically nobody had slept. So the first time that people actually sat down and were stable was Prabhupada's first class. So, well, I'll tell that because continuing with that, so everybody fell asleep. We had 3 of the Radha Damodar bus parties, so we had about, I don't know, 40, 50 brahmacharis there and 6 sannyasis and everybody, the brahmacharis, the householders, the sannyasis, everybody fell asleep. And Prabhupada, the Chaitanya Charitamrita had just come out. So instead of Bhagavatam class, he was reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita. And he was talking about causeless mercy. And Prabhupada said, causeless mercy is like if you're just walking down the road and you find a bag full of gold coins. You just there it is, Or somebody comes up and says, take, and gives you millions of dollars. That's an example of, you don't have any qualification. You just happen to be in the right place at the right time. So Prabhupada was explaining. And then Prabhupada said, in the same way, this movement is going on by the mercy of Krishna alone. And then he looked out over his glasses at all the devotees sound asleep. And he said, that is a fact. So, this is. But what I was going to say about before the class began, I would have been asleep too. I was in no special category. I happened to be cooking breakfast for the devotees, so the kitchen was down. I would run up and watch Prabhupada, and then I'd go back down and stir this or pull this or that out of the oven. So when Prabhupada first sat down, they were they're getting his glasses out and his kartals and setting things up, the podium, and the mic was on, but it was a live mic. Prabhupada was speaking to himself. So Prabhupada leaned back and he looked out, and there were nice Indian families, there were college students, there were inner city street kids, there were hippies, there was a whole montage or the spectrum of humankind was sitting out there, all different types of people, every different color and ethnic group and economic strata. And Prabhupada looked out and he took this whole scene in and he said, Krishna's lotus feet, they're big enough for everyone. So I always found that very moving, that actually Krishna's lotus feet, they're big. Everyone can find ashraya, can find shelter under Krishna's lotus feet. So I wanted to tell some, and I think I took some notes. I don't think I know. Hold on, because this is gonna fall apart. Now let me just find it here. But I'll tell you a quick one that comes to mind. I was sitting there, and this man said to Prabhupada, can you read my palm? And in India they have palmistry and people, and most of them are completely bogus, but there's a few that are accurate too. So this man said, Swamiji, can you read my palm? Prabhupada said, we do not do that. Yokesh mam vahamiham, we depend on Krishna to protect what we have and bring what we lack, and that Krishna's the only shelter. Prabhupada explained things so nicely, And the man said, yes, yes, after Prabhupada finished, yes, yes, very nice, Swami, but can you read my palm? Went right over it. He missed the whole thing. But to everyone's surprise, Prabhupada said, give me your hand. And you know how they do. Hold on. You know, they Prabhupada clicked on his desk lamp. He was sitting on a low table, you know, took the man's hand. You know, they pushed the, you know, Prabhupada was expert at theatrics. We were thinking, we're going to queue up and say, Prabhupada, read my palm, you know? And so, you know, Prabhupada explained, you know, we just depend on Krishna. He explained all that, but the guy missed it. So give me your hand. Prabhupada's, then Prabhupada went, all bad. Prabhupada said, birth, death, disease, and old age. And I thought the man was going to, Prabhupada was so heavy. I thought the guy was going to have a heart attack. He was like, oh! And then Prabhupada got this wry smile, blissful smile. And Prabhupada said, but clap your hands at kirtan, all the lines go away. And the guy actually got it. You just surrender to Krishna, you know. The best laid plans of mice and men go astray. So this will cue my memory. Now, what did I do with my glasses?
Under the laptop.
Yeah, 10 points for whoever can find them. Here we go. I know that I am going on by the mercy of Krishna alone. That's for a fact. Now, let me just find this file. And we will get off to the races. We're almost there. Okay. Oh, Prabhupada used to, when we were in Los Angeles, Prabhupada, any of you been to the LA temple? Yeah, you seen Prabhupada's garden there? Well, what is now the gift shop used to be the Brahmachari ashram. And we probably had 25, 30 brahmacharis at the LA temple in those days. And when Prabhupada would sit out in the garden, his garden there, you could lean out the window and you could hear what Prabhupada was saying. And so we'd all, you know, if you, one brahmachari would hold the back of your dhoti and you could lean way out and we'd rotate and take, you know. So you've got 4 windows, 25 brahmachari. We looked like a barrel of monkeys hanging out the window. But we could hear Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was meeting the mayor of LA and city council members and professors from UCLA and USC, so many things, you know. And it was nice. So after a couple of days, because we just moved in and Prabhupada was meeting with guests, and we were all leaning out the window, Karandar, the temple commander, who used to be a Hell's Angel, seriously, you didn't argue with that man. And it was very good training. It was like boot camp in the Marines. So thank you very much, Mataji. So Karandar said, you know, Prabhupada's meeting all these distinguished people, you know, and now we have this nice new big building, and you guys are hanging out the windows like a gypsy or monkeys, you know, and you can't do it anymore. So we were heartbroken, but we thought, well, it's true. We don't want to embarrass Prabhupada, and you know, we want to help him in his preaching. So next day, nobody was in the window. Prabhupada came out, sat down, looked up, turned to Keshava, the temple commander, and said, where are the brahmacharis? Go and get them. He didn't mind it. He appreciated that we wanted to hear, you know. So that gives you a flavor of Prabhupada's mood. When Prabhupada came to Detroit, we heard, by this time I'd moved to Detroit from LA, and we heard that Prabhupada, they bathed Prabhupada's, we didn't know any, you have to realize, we didn't know anything about anything. Prabhupada gave the example, remind me to get back to bathing Prabhupada's feet, but Prabhupada gave the example that there's a music teacher, and they were asking Prabhupada, a newspaper reporter, why did your movement succeed in the West? Where did you start? Prabhupada said, in India, everyone said, oh, I know about Krishna. I know everything. I'm already knowing. And Prabhupada, they said, why did you come to America? And Prabhupada said, well, some of my god brothers, they went to England and they failed. And another one of my god brothers went to Sweden and he failed. And another one of my god brothers went to Germany and he failed. So Prabhupada said, I thought if I'm going to fail, at least let me fail in a new place. So that was his idea. I mean, he was joking. It was his strategy. If you could turn, everybody was following America in those days. So, I mean, we're talking about the early 70s. So everybody was following America. And Prabhupada knew that if he could turn them, and in India, when I first arrived in India, in the Calcutta airport on the way to Mayapur, there was a huge poster, and it was a saying by Aurobindo, and it said, who was actually a British agent, that's a whole other story, paid, anyway, had a big signboard, and it said, we do not belong to the dusks of the past, but the dawns of the future. Now, what is the subliminal message delivered? We don't belong to the dusks, the setting sun of the past, but the rising sun of the future. What is the messages there? Huh? I couldn't hear that, but no, that wasn't the message at all. The message was forget your Vedic culture. Forget your tradition. It belongs to the darkness of the prehistoric past. And get out there and make sewing machines and tires and work hard like a donkey and make money and build a nation. I mean, it's a fact that the British, savaged India. And, so they were, okay, fine, build a nation, but that's the whole goal of life. So what was I going to say?
When you arrived in India, this is the first poster you saw.
I can't hear you. It'll come back to me in a minute.
The first poster.
Huh?
The first poster in India that you saw.
The first what?
Poster.
As soon as you got down
No.
to the airport.
Huh?
As soon as you got down to the airport, this was the first poster.
I know. I appreciate. Oh, I'm just testing to make sure you're listening. No, it's been a long day. I completely forgot. It'll come back to me. It doesn't help. It throws me off the track.
I know Krishna.
Yeah, I know everything.
Why did Prabhupada come to the West?
No, we'll get there in a minute. We're getting closer though. we're getting back to it. Anyway, it'll come back to me later on.
The washing of Prabhupada's feet.
Okay, thank you. We'll start there. That's a different. That's good. A good place. So we heard that they had washed Prabhupada's feet, and so, well, that's interesting. Oh, I was saying we didn't know anything about anything, so that we had to learn. Oh, that was it. Prabhupada was saying, they asked Prabhupada, why did your movement succeed in America? Why did it take off in America? Why didn't it just stay in India? That's they would ask Prabhupada, why have you come to the West? And Prabhupada would stand right back and say, because to teach what you've forgotten. how to love Krishna. So now I forgot again.
In India, everyone knows everything.
Yeah, anyway, it'll come back to me. So the music teacher, help me remember in case I get off track again. So they asked, well, Prabhupada, why did you come? Why did your movement take off in the West and not take off in India? Why have you come to the West? And Prabhupada would give different answers. But this time, Prabhupada said, just like a music teacher, two students come to the music teacher and they want to learn sitar. So the first student, he asks the music teacher, have you ever played sitar before? Oh, yes, I have a sitar and I've played around with it. I know a few things. And okay, your lessons, 100 rupees a lesson. Now, have you ever played sitar? Never in my life. I've never picked it up. 50 rupees a lesson. So the person has no experience. Why are they only being charged 50 rupees? And the person who has some experience, knows some scales or whatever, he's 100 rupees. Why? So the 100 rupee man, obviously looking for a discount, wanted to know why the 50 rupee. And the teacher said, because first thing I have to do is break all your bad habits and get you to start, fresh. Somebody starts fresh. So Prabhupada said, in the West, you were standing far away from India, but you were looking in the right direction. Whereas people in those days in India were right there in Bharatvarsha, but they were looking the other way. They were looking after the West. So we didn't know anything. Our only advantage is that whatever Prabhupada said, we just accepted it. That was okay. And we were a blank slate, and therefore we were easier to teach. So we heard, it's all coming back now. So we heard that they bathed Prabhupada's feet. So we didn't know anything about anything. So our temple president, Govardhan Prabhu, who I can never repay, called the devotees in LA and found, okay, fine. Well, you get a small swimming pool, those little kiddie swimming pools. So he sent me out to get one of those. I remember to this day, it was blue with pink ducks, little. So, okay, and we learned the procedure. So Prabhupada came and he sat down on the Vyasa-san, and I was helping our temple president. I came out with this plastic swimming pool. And you could see Prabhupada kind of, all right, they're going to bathe my feet, all right. So then Prabhupada put his feet out over the swimming pool, and Govardhan got ready to pour milk with rose petals in it, out of, Prabhupada said, socks off, socks off. We were going to bathe Prabhupada's feet with his socks on. We didn't know anything. And then Govardhan poured the milk out of the conch, and it was ice cold. Oh, Prabhupada winced. He pulled his feet back. It'd come right out of the fridge, So sometimes they think, sitting on a big seat and so many, But it was also austere. Training all these, Western devotees. Prabhupada put up with so much. He was challenged by a Sanskrit professor. He was trying to, this was in Detroit, and he was trying to impress Prabhupada. And he said, Swamiji, is it Krishna? Is it Krishna? Is it Krishna? How do you pronounce it? Prabhupada said, don't worry. He knows who's calling. It's a great answer. Put the guy right in his spot, Okay, so let me look at some of these. Let's see. Oh, Prabhupada used to, there's a park. You can go there. It's called Shevet Hills. It's right above the LA Temple. And sometimes Prabhupada would go for a walk there. Remind me, Brahmananda and the crab. Okay? So the Prabhupada would usually get out of the car and walk around the park clockwise. You can hear it on the tape. So this particular day, for some reason, whatever, Prabhupada walked the opposite direction, counterclockwise. And there's a devotee named Prajapati. He's passed away. But he was trained as a Shakespearean actor. And you hear him on those morning walks, I say, Srila Prabhupada, and. So you hear on the tape that Prabhupada's usually going clockwise. This time he's going counterclockwise. And you hear Prajapati say, I say, Srila Prabhupada, when we walk in the park in a different direction, and we see all the objects from a different angle, it looks like a brand new park. And you hear Prabhupada just start to laugh. He said, this is material life. All it is eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But we do it in a different body. We do it in a different city. We do, instead of sleeping as a bear in a cave, we sleep on Park Avenue or, overlooking Central Park. But once you're asleep, it's the same thing. So it's eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But because it's in a new body, it's from another angle, we think, oh, this is brand new. Let's see if I can get some happiness. So that was that was Prabhupada's lesson from the park, that it's all the same thing, but we just see it from a different angle. And Prabhupada called it chewing the chewed. The cow spits out the sugar cane, sucks all the juice out, spits it out, and then goes back and chews a little bit. Maybe it's something I missed here, but you've already sucked all the juice out. So Brahmananda and the crab. I was on this walk. Prabhupada's walking, in Venice Beach. You've seen the pictures of Prabhupada walking on the beach. And, the water comes up and the waves come up and the waves come back. And if you've ever seen in the ocean, sometimes there's crabs living in the sand and they'll run up and then they'll run back with the water. So Prabhupada, we're walking along the beach. Prabhupada says the waves are coming up and the waves are going back, and the crabs are running up and running back with the waves. All of a sudden, Prabhupada says to Brahmananda, get that crab. Surrender to Brahmananda. He runs after the thing. He got water all the way up to his knees, and he couldn't find it. And Prabhupada said, just see, big Brahmananda and the little tiny crab, and he couldn't get it. Prabhupada said, why? What was the qualification of the crab that allowed it to get protection from Brahmananda? Anyone know?
Was it its home territory, water?
Huh?
Home territory, water?
You're on the right trail. Prabhupada said, huh?
Took shelter of the sea.
Prabhupada said that. Prabhupada said that the reason the crab has full shelter, has full protection from the ocean. But what is the qualification of the crab to get that full protection of the ocean? He's completely surrendered. Outside of the ocean, the crab cannot live. So the devotee, yayat mam prapadente, as you surrender, Krishna gives you shelter. So that the different, Prabhupada was explaining, the different elements have different degrees of conductivity of electricity, right? Like rubber, they use it as insulation. It doesn't carry electricity. A little bit better is water. A little bit better is copper. I think, what is it? Fiber optics or whatever.
Silver.
Huh? Silver. You got the idea. So different degrees have different levels of conductivity. You know what determines that? It's degrees of resistance. Less resistance, more current can flow. So if we want to get Krishna's mercy, we want to get Krishna's shelter, we want to be empowered in our service, to the degree that we surrender, the current of Krishna's mercy can flow. So that was the lesson from Brahmananda and the crab. Let me see what else we got here. Oh, hold on. I was saying that, Prabhupada, when Prabhupada came to New York City, you know what his observation was? People want to see the Statue of Liberty, the Eiffel Tower, the Statue of Liberty, what is it, the Empire State Building, whatever. You know what Prabhupada's observation of New York was? That the whole place smelled like dog stool. He was not impressed. When Prabhupada was walking in Lakeshore Park, in Chicago, Lakeshore Park, up in Evanston. Yeah, actually, I'm thinking of a bunch of them. But you can sight from from Evanston. You can sight down Lake Michigan, and at the very end is the Chicago skyline. And Prabhupada said, got out, Prabhupada had that way of tilting his head back and sighting, like an aristocrat. He would look down because he was the most aristocratic. And Prabhupada said, this is their business. They are simply stacking stones. You stack up a big skyscraper building, and Prabhupada said, and Maya will come and kick it all down. So that's really all they're doing is stacking stones. Prabhupada said, just for fun, the missing link. Prabhupada said the missing, evolution, the missing link. Prabhupada said the missing link is my foot in their face. Prabhupada said, what missing link? Prabhupada said, there's still monkeys. Well, what evolution, That's a little controversial, but Prabhupada said, your ancestors may be monkeys. He said, but my ancestors are the great sages of Vedic India. That's the real qualification. Oh, this one is just for fun. The Prabhupada was speaking, and you can hear those lectures. I highly recommend. If you haven't heard them, you should find them out. It's Prabhupada speaking at the Radha Damodar temple in front of the samadhi of Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, the Bhajan Kutir and the samadhi of Rupa Goswami. And you can see those pictures. Prabhupada, had gone to the West. And remind me, here's another one. Prabhupada and the darshan of Rupa Goswami. So Prabhupada had gone to the West, and he'd come back with some Western disciples. It was a major accomplishment. All the others had failed in London, failed here, failed there. And Prabhupada brought back these young Western disciples. And he's sitting and offering them to Rupa Goswami. He's there at Rupa Goswami's Bhajan Kutir. And then in those lectures, Prabhupada is super heavy. Prabhupada's saying a pinch of material desire and you cannot go back to Godhead. That's pretty heavy. Prabhupada was saying that, and he was training the devotees that, you're sadhus, you can't just be going into the sweet shops and sitting out in front in saffron cloth, snacking on rasgullas. You take Mahaprasana, but we shouldn't eat in public. We shouldn't eat things not cooked by devotees. It was super heavy. One pinch of material desire, and you can't go back to Godhead. Okay. Now the devotees were staying at Fogal Ashram, which is over by the Krishna Balaram temple. We had the land, but the building wasn't built. So we were staying at Fogal Ashram. So after the classes at the Radha Damodar temple, the devotees would walk back through Loy Bazaar and then go up to where we were staying at Fogal Ashram by the Krishna Balaram temple. So one day, after a heavy lecture, in a series of heavy lectures, the devotees are walking back through Loy Bazaar. Tamal Krishna Maharaj told me this one. So the devotees, to live in India in those days, there was no bottled water. If you wanted water, everybody was getting sick. You had to get limkas, because that was the only, it was distilled water. It had ants floating in them because they didn't get the caps on right. Everybody was sick. Nobody knew how to cook. Now living in India is wonderful, but in those days we didn't know anything. So, super austere. They're walking through Loy Bazaar, and there's all the sweet shops there. And it was early in the morning, so they're just cooking and putting their wares out. So the first shop has nice besan ladus, and the devotees, can smell the ghee in it, but they held firm and sallied forth. Now the next sweet shop, the guy's got first class rasgullas. The squeak when you bite into them and full of, devotees wavered, but they pushed on. And just as they were about to get free from the land of temptation, turn the corner off Loy Bazaar, there was a sweet shop and the man was cooking hot jalebis. And he said, please, take for free. It will be good for me, if I can offer to Vaishnav. It was a sincere man. Devotees held on. The man said, I'm Vaishnav. He showed his neck bead, Brahmin thread. I offered, he showed a nice picture of, Radha Raman, or, I offered the devotees. And finally he said, I'm life member. He showed a picture of Prabhupada. They cracked. And the devotees are there taking, and nice hot jalebi, juices on your chin, All of a sudden, around the corner, coming back from the Radha Damodar temple, coming down Loy Bazaar, is Prabhupada and his little ambassador. And Loy Bazaar, there's nowhere to run, there's nowhere to hide. They got the evidence on their face and their fingers. So the devotees all looked at Tamal Krishna Maharaj. Tamal said, just take it. Just fold your head, bow down, and just take it. We're going to get chastised. We deserve it. Just take it. And sure enough, Prabhupada, pulling slowly along, Prabhupada signals the driver to stop. Prabhupada rolls down his window. Prabhupada's from here to there to the devotees. They got all the evidence on their face. Prabhupada says, Bengali sweets, essential to life. We were thinking that Prabhupada, the devotee, Prabhupada could understand their situation. Prabhupada could be like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, harsh as a thunderbolt and soft as a rose. Okay, let's see what else we got going on here. And then while I'm looking, you need to think of some questions. Just tolerating. Babru, Ashram Maharaj told me this one. Many Vyasasans have an umbrella over them. It's a nice ceremonial umbrella. It's auspicious. So they unscrewed the umbrella off the Vyasasan in the Honolulu temple, stuffed it in the back of a truck, drove out to the airport. In those days, you walk off they wheel out the stairs and you walk across the tarmac. So they managed to get all the way through customs or, security and everything. It wasn't tight like it is nowadays. Prabhupada's coming down. He gets down on the tarmac and they're holding the umbrella over him. Then they follow him all the way into the airport terminal. Prabhupada's in the VIP room and they're holding the umbrella over him. Prabhupada goes to the airport there, to his car, they hold it over, He gets out, they race back to the temple. Prabhupada gets out of his car, he's walking the steps in the temple. They got the umbrella over him. Prabhupada sits down on his Vyasasan. They didn't have time to attach it. So Ashram Maharaj, Babaru at the time, climbs up on the ledge behind it, and he's holding it kind of teetering back and forth over Prabhupada. Prabhupada looks at it and says, I don't think it's going to rain in here. So, okay, but enough's enough, So Prabhupada put up with it. It was not easy, Prabhupada was the only reason. I think I told it the other night, but I'll tell it again about Prabhupada and the apple. Did I tell that one?
Yes.
All right, I'll say something else. I'll tell this one, and you guys can think of a question. Hari Sari told me this, and it was confirmed later on by Murli, what was her name? Mullah Prakriti wrote that book, about Friends of Prabhupada in Vrindavan days. So Hari Sari told me this personally. He had heard that Prabhupada had the darshan of Rupa Goswami. So he wanted to ask Prabhupada about it. And sometimes, late in night, Prabhupada would take dry massage, and you would be under Prabhupada's mosquito net, and it was quite intimate. They're massaging Prabhupada, and Prabhupada would often reminisce about how he met his spiritual master in the early days, or what it was like in the Gaudiya Math in the early days, and how when he first came. So many things. Prabhupada would talk about his father or his mother. Prabhupada used to fight with his mother. Whenever, sometimes on your birthday you get a little money or something like that. When people would, his uncle would give Prabhupada, he would give it to his mother. But if he had a fight with his mother, he'd say, give me my money back. So, Prabhupada would tell, Prabhupada thought, he's a little boy, He asked his mother, he wanted the train schedule to Vrindavan, from Calcutta to Vrindavan. What is the train schedule? She said, what will you do with the train schedule? Prabhupada was thinking if he got a stick that was long enough, he could touch the wires and stand on the rails and be able to go to Vrindavan. So even as a small boy, he was calculating, how's he going to go to Vrindavan? So Prabhupada would tell stories like this, Prabhupada in Mexico City, Prabhupada was, Rita Nanamarsh told me this, that Prabhupada was, she was a nice lady. She was a lady news reporter. And she was interviewing Prabhupada. Prabhupada arrived at the airport. And she was surprised to see hear Prabhupada's age. She said, oh, you look so young. Prabhupada said, you want my beauty secret? Prabhupada's joking. So she picked up on it. She said, yes, what is it? She said, my beauty secret. And Prabhupada said, $1 million. So she laughed. And then Prabhupada said his beauty secret was that when he was a young boy, his father would come home late at night from the shop. And Prabhupada's mother, so Prabhupada would hear his father doing arti, to his deities, offering his dinner for Sharon, ding, ding, ding. Prabhupada would hear the bell and wake up. And he'd come out, and his father would be eating his meal. And do you want anything? Prabhupada would say, puris and halava. His mother said, it's too late, you can't get. But Prabhupada said, no, he wants it, you make it for him. Prabhupada was the pet son of his father. So Prabhupada said, my beauty secret is that when I was growing up, I always ate puris and halava cooked in ghee. That was Prabhupada's beauty secret. So, Prabhupada would share moments like that. Prabhupada had a scar on his leg where he almost burned his house down trying to make fireworks. So Prabhupada would share these far out stories. So he was in one of those moods late at night in the massage. And Harisari thought, this is it. I'll ask Prabhupada about him. Did you ever have darshan of Rupa Goswami? So he asked Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, that you do not require. Which means, oh no, first time he asked him, Prabhupada said, that is common knowledge. You know, that he didn't elaborate. But he said, that is common knowledge. So that piqued Harisari's interest even. But Prabhupada didn't, it's pretty clear. He didn't want to go any further. Some time passes. Again, it's late at night. Prabhupada's in a mood of reminiscing about his childhood, early days in Calcutta. So Harisari thinks this is it. He said, Prabhupada, so did you ever have darshan of Rupa Goswami? That's when Prabhupada said, that you do not require. Which means, no, I don't want to talk about that. So he didn't say anything. But he didn't deny it. Neither time. Now later on, there was one of the Goswami family, one of the sons in that, now he's an old man, passed away. His name was Gopal Chand. And Gopal Chand was a young boy growing up in the Radha Damodar temple. And Prabhupada, who didn't miss a trick, caught him stealing from the hundi. Prabhupada was, probably around 55 at that time, and he's a young boy, 8, 9, 10 years old. So Prabhupada said, this is not good. Krishna has 2 eyes. Anyone know Vishwarup, what the 2 eyes of Krishna is? Anyone know?
Sun and moon.
Who said that? Yeah, way to go. Sun and the moon. Even you close one eye, even it's just the sun or the moon, one eye's open, you can still see. I had a kid ask me one time, Swamiji, what about a moonless night? I said, make this kid a lawyer. He's immediately found a loophole, It's a material example, but, one eye or the other. Krishna sees everything. So Prabhupada said, this is not good. You're stealing from the deities, and Krishna sees everything. Why do you steal? And the young boy said, I love sweets. So I steal the money and I buy sweets. Just see Prabhupada. He's translating the Bhagavatam. He's meeting with the president of India. I mean, there's so many. Prabhupada was a real scholar and aristocrat, respected. But this boy was stealing. Prabhupada said, if I make you sweets, will you stop stealing? So the boy, sure, why not? He agreed. And Prabhupada used to make used to make different sweets with it. Gopal Chand is narrating. This is now he's grown up, and he was narrating the story. It's in Mullah Prakridi's book, and Harisari also interviewed him. So we've got 2 sources confirming this story. So they become friends. Prabhupada said old men and little children are natural allies. They become friends, So, and Prabhupada's, Indian culture, sometimes Gopal Chand's mother, she's cooking for her family anyway, and here's a saintly sannyasi sadhu. She would send Gopal to ask Swamiji, does he want any sabji or puris, or I'm cooking for my family anyway, let me see if the Swami wants anything. And sometimes Prabhupada would take something, Prabhupada would sometimes just take a little hot milk or something like that. She was taking care of Prabhupada out of respect. So one time, Gopal Chand came over to check with Srila Prabhupada if he needed anything. And he said Prabhupada had a cold. Prabhupada had his chadar, and it gets cold in Vrindavan. And Prabhupada, his nose was full of mucus. He had a cold. He said, no. You know how you get rid of an unwanted guest? Of course, you're all saintly and charitable householders. But here's a tip. Prabhupada said it. I heard him say it. You know how you get rid of an unwanted guest? Don't feed them. They'll leave. Sure enough, you don't feed them. So Prabhupada said for a cold, you fast for a few days. It'll clear up. So unwanted guests, don't feed it. Fast and you'll get rid of a cold. So Prabhupada told Gopal Chand, no, I'm not going to, I've got this cold, I'm not going to eat anything. And his voice was full of cough. And okay. So that night, Gopal Chand wakes up, I don't know what time, midnight, 1 o'clock, and they see that under, Prabhupada's quarters at the Radha temple. You could see under Prabhupada's bedroom a light coming up, a space between the door and the floor. There's some light, but it wasn't an ordinary light. It's a very effulgent light coming out from it. This is Gopal Chand's narration. And Prabhupada was talking to someone. But who was he talking to? This old Radha Raman, Radha Damodar, whatever. When they close up at night, they shut those big wood doors to that compound. That thing's shut like a drum. So nobody's coming in, nobody's coming out. So everybody's present and accounted for. Who was Prabhupada talking to? So anyway, they went back to sleep. The next morning, as soon as there was light, young Gopal Chand ran over to Prabhupada and said, Swamiji, Swamiji, who were you talking to last night? And Prabhupada said, Prabhupada was sitting up very straight, no cold. Hare Krishna, Krishna. So Swamiji, who were you talking to? Prabhupada said, I had the darshan of Rupa Goswami. So a little boy asked, natural, well, what did he say? What did he say? And Prabhupada said, he told me, you write these books, you go to the West, and we will take care of everything else. So that is the movement we're in. We have to remember we're in the line of Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, the 6 Goswamis, the great acharyas, Krishnadas Kaviraj, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila, Bhakti Vinod. This is the line that we're in. And the message, one of the biggest problems in the West is loneliness. People are lonely, isolated. They don't know who to trust, and with good reason. You know what the average attention span of an American is? Guess. Who wants to guess the average attention span?
11 seconds.
You're close. It's actually 8.5. Talk about distracted and and it's getting worse. Everybody's looking at the screen, slide right, slide left, slide right, So, and they're lonely, they're misguided, they're unsatisfied. So we have the most important mission, the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prabhupada said there's Brahmins on every corner. Just go and pick them up. He wrote that to me in a letter. So there's devotees on every corner. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur writes, Vaisheshika Prabhu told me this. You ever done door-to-door book distribution? You knock on the door and you hear them slide all the locks off and then the cave door opens and they got the cable TV going and the nasty smells and the dog barking. And I saw a sign the other day. It said, forget about the dog, worry about the owner. It's true. But Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur writes that in the core of their heart, underneath all of that, they're looking out their window, they're looking down the road, and they're wondering, when will Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotees come and save me? So we have the most important mission. And we have the backing of all the previous acharyas. All we have, Prabhupada, I was in the room. Prabhupada said, first thing Prabhupada said, that Krishna will give you the whole world, meaning the whole world potentially can become Krishna conscious. Prabhupada said the Pandavas were being hunted in the forest like animals, when they were banished. Prabhupada said within 18 days, Yudhisthira Maharaj went from being hounded to the emperor of the world. Prabhupada said Krishna can give you the whole world in 18 days. Prabhupada then said, why 18 days? 18 hours. And then Prabhupada said to us, but what will you do with it? Simply sleep. So if we are qualified, if we're surrendered, if we give it our sincere effort, put our shoulder to the wheel, because it's what people are looking for. They're looking for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. And it is, Krishna said to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, you can fight or not fight. They're not going home. It says in the Bible, thy will on earth, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. The will of Krishna is what happens. Prabhupada said, I have my plan, you have your plan, and Krishna has his plan. Guess whose plan happens? Yeah. So if we align, anyone know what dovetail means? I looked it up when we hear that, dovetail. I'm dovetailed in Krishna consciousness, dovetailed in Krishna service. It's a carpentry term. And it's a type of joint when you have, like, let's say you're making a window or a door and you've got the door frame. So the wall is a particular shape. And when you design a piece of wood, a framing to fit in that, that's called dovetailed. It comports to the other shape. There's a shape and you fit the other shape inside. That's called dovetailing in carpentry. So what it means is to comport our desire to shape our desire to be the desire of Krishna, to fulfill Krishna's mission. And it's the most wonderful adventure. So that is something Prabhupada said. Rupa Goswami told Prabhupada, you write these books, you go to the West, and we will take care of everything else. And that's what happened. Ganga Prasad, anyone shop at Ganga Prasad? And yeah, everybody knows Ganga Prasad, You go between them and Gangotri and see who's got the best price. So everybody knows. So somehow, I was a young man in those days and temple president. We used to buy saris and dhotis for the devotees and then, silk saris for the deities and stuff. So I became friends with he's passed away a long time ago, but he used to sit in the back of the shop, the grandfather of the current Ganga Prasad. Now his son Manish is running it like that. But he was an old man sitting in the back, and he'd just sit there and chant japa. Somebody misquoted a price, he would hear it immediately, but mostly he was just chanting japa. And he told me, he said, your Swami Maharaj, meaning Prabhupada, was not like these other sadhus. So I said, what do you mean? He said, well, he wouldn't loiter in Loy Bazaar, reading the newspaper, talking politics, or, listening to the radio or whatever. He'd be in and out, probably in and out. Every couple of days he'd come in and out. He'd buy a new typewriter ribbon or a little, some spices or whatever. He was in and out. So the original Ganga Prasad, he was wondering, well, what's he doing? Why is he in such a hurry? He's probably got some woman, or he's listening to the radio, wants to go home and hear the cricket match. What's he up to? Because the sadhus, they learn that, if I'm at this temple at this time, I can get chapatis, and if I'm over here in time, I'll get dal. If I'm over here, I'll get rice. Come a lot of sadhus, they got to, how to fill their belly. I mean, there's many wonderful sadhus in Vrindavan also, but a lot of them are just professional beggars. So it's Prabhupada just like this. So he followed Prabhupada back. Prabhupada was staying at the Vamsi Gopal temple at the time. He wanted to spy on Prabhupada, see if he hears a cricket match or some woman laughing or what's he up to. And he said, I snuck under the window. I heard type, 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 type. The sound of a typewriter. He said, I came back in the afternoon, type, 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 type. I came late at night, type, type, type. Prabhupada was typing. He said Ganga Prasad said he was translating and giving his commentaries to the Bhaktivedanta purports on Bhagavatam. That's what Prabhupada was doing. And as soon as he had the books, he went to the West, and as they say in the movies, the rest is history. So we are part of that. And if we catch the stream, we will be happy in our life and do the greatest welfare to others. Okay, we can end there. And what time is it?
7:41.
Huh?
7:41.
7:41. We'll take a couple of questions and be finished. You have a question.
I have two.
Way to go. Thank you very much.
First of all,
You know what it means that you're asking a question? It means that you're smart. Yeah, it means that the lights are turned on. Go ahead.
First question is,
Yes.
where did Srila Prabhupada see Rupa Goswami? Like, which city was it?
Rupa Goswami manifest. He didn't knock on the door and, turn up in a taxi. He manifests from this Vaikuntha, from the Krishna Loka. He showed up. And that was at the Radha Damodar temple. And if you're at the Radha Damodar temple, there's they put some kind of donation booth there or something. But there's that veranda. And then this side, there's the window that looks out over Rupa Goswami's Samadhi and his Bhajan Kutir. So across that veranda, there's the long, thin room. And that was Prabhupada's bedroom. And that's where Rupa Goswami manifested him. Does that answer your question?
The second
And if you go there and you look at that, the one is that overlooks the Samadhi in that courtyard there. I mean, now they've walled the whole thing in. It's whatever. But if you look at the other side, there's a support beam, like there's this arch, right? It's a support beam for the next floor. So if you look there, in the middle of the arch, there's a area. There's like about this big. There's obviously some space up there. There's something that's it's a compartment. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj told me this. So he saw that, and he asked Prabhupada, "What is this?" Prabhupada said, "Oh, the Goswamis used to hide things there." Tamal asked, "What did they hide?" Prabhupada said, "Oh, probably prasadam." Actually, Prabhupada explained later on, they kept their manuscripts, their pens, their writing material. They would keep it stuffed up there. Prabhupada said one time, "I do not think I would have a single disciple if I had not introduced prasadam." Okay, so we had a second question.
why do you put umbrellas? Like,
It's for shade and for rain. It has a purpose, but also to honor, like kings. They would ride on the elephant and they would have an umbrella over them. It's called, I don't know what the Sanskrit is, but ceremonial umbrella. It's a way of offering respects to a noble person. The Queen of England comes out on the balcony and they have a canopy over her. Prabhupada said that the materialists, they have a statue, and the bird comes and drops on the statue's head. Once a year, they'll brush off with a municipal street brush. They'll brush off and then they offer some words and offer a garland, and the next morning, crows on top of the head. Now, we should not worship the deities like that. The deity is Krishna. Krishna is standing there. Okay, is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay, good question. Anybody else have a question? Okay, look at that. We got a lively group. Yes, Prabhu.
What according to you is
I like the way you lead kirtan. You are definitely relishing the holy name. Okay, go ahead.
what according to you will please Srila Prabhupada the most?
Prabhupada was asked this question a number of times. And Prabhupada would give different answers. Now, we know that Prabhupada's favorite activity was book distribution. And he was told by his spiritual master said, if I could take the marble, I built the Bug Bazaar, that big, it was a big donor, and they built that beautiful temple. And the Prabhupada's godbrothers, the so-called renounced sannyasis, were arguing over who's going to live in which room. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was disgusted. He said, I wish I could take the marble off the walls, sell it, and print books. It was at Radhakund, and that's where Prabhupada picked up on, oh, he's very fond of book distribution. And then Prabhupada's Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told Prabhupada, if you ever get money, print books. A book is that I was traveling on a plane, and I was sitting next to an executive at Harcourt Brace, the printing company, and he said that a hardbound book, a softbound book, in the life of that book before it falls apart, it will be read by an average of 6 to 9 people in the life of that book. A hardbound book will be read by an average of 11 to 15 people will read that book. So every hardbound book that we distribute, you can multiply by 15. That would be the number of readers. So, people buy a book and read it, it stays in their head. So Prabhupada was most pleased by book distribution. But he would answer in other ways too, How are the book distributors enlivened? Book distributors come home from the field and they see the beautiful deities. Prabhupada said you should always dress Radharani more beautiful than Krishna. Do you know why? That way Krishna will never leave. So, you see the beautiful deities and, you're enlivened. And what about the cooks? An army runs on its stomach. Prabhupada, quoting Napoleon, said that. And if you're a cook and you make nice prasad for the devotees, they come home from Sankirtan or they're going out, they pack a nice lunch for them to take with them. They take prasadam and they come home. So we're all, like in the army, they have a saying, what's the tip of the spear? You've got the actual combat troops that are on the front line or the tip of the spear. Behind that tip of the spear are all the support systems. And if you don't have the cooks and the engineers and the supply guys, you're not going anywhere. So if we're all thinking that let me help the Sankirtan, let me help the book distribution, you don't have time, you don't have the inclination, you buy books. Who is it? Marcy? Marcy in San Diego? She's got some kind of trust fund something and she's got money. And she buys books. And she said, I'm too shy. I can't. She buys books and the devotees distribute them,
She does it herself sometimes.
She does it herself. She's upgraded. She didn't used to do it herself. So Prabhupada used to say what pleases him the most is that you remember Krishna. So sometimes he would say that. So he wanted to see us advance in devotional service, to remember Krishna. That's the bottom line. That's what is it? Rupa Goswami says, always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. That's the lowest common denominator, the essence of the thing, the thread on which all the other pearls are hung. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. So on one hand, it doesn't matter what you do, but if you can help spread the mission, what does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita? No one's more dear to me than such a person who's delivering the message to others. So does that answer your question? But we don't want to ladle anybody with guilt and, find a nook in a corner, find a way to put your shoulder to the wheel of spreading Krishna consciousness. Okay? Somebody else had a question? Yeah. We'll end in just a minute.
But it's a nice segue. You mentioned that loving Krishna is the essence. And we've been loving your lectures even yesterday.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you.
One takeaway message for me from yesterday's class was you were mentioning about Uncle Jeff or someone.
Uncle Chuck.
Uncle Chuck.
Was my father's brother.
Brother, yeah. Who always keeps going and asking and asking. And
Yeah.
then,
So I'm waiting for the question.
Yeah. No, yeah. So that's our attitude. I was just then thinking about myself, also just reminiscing and understanding that every day also in the morning when I wake up, I think, oh, what will I eat? And I offer that to Krishna. How do we change that attitude, or how can we make it practical? Not being Uncle Chuck.
Well, first off, you're getting out of your warm bed, taking a shower, and offering arti to Krishna. So, like I was saying, I think last night, that things are not binary, they're not black and white. We try to, up, down, in, out. But our philosophy is a chinta beta beta tattva, simultaneously one and different. Things are nuanced, things are mixed. So, on one hand, devotees are, Prabhupada said we should be lenient with others and strict on ourselves. So, as a natural, as a sincere devotee, you're thinking, "Oh, I'm not doing enough. I should improve. I could." But on the other hand, you're getting out of your warm bed, you're making some nice prasadam, and you're offering it to Krishna. So we should be simultaneously strict with ourselves and not too hard on ourselves. Sometimes devotees just think, because I can't do everything, I just shouldn't do anything. No, you do what you can do. So first off, it's nice that you're thinking like that. Devotees are always thinking, how can we improve? So there's that. But don't be too hard on yourself such that you become despondent or depressed or something like that. But again, it's the same answer I gave last night, that we are in a partnership with Krishna. Krishna wants us to go back to Godhead more than we want to go. Prabhupada said that often. And all we have to do is sincerely try. And prayer works. If we honestly and humbly open our heart and pray to Krishna, Krishna will give you a message. He'll give you inspiration. I mean, you have to, what is it, Guru Shastra Sadhu? You have to confirm it in Shastra. Anyway, I mean, devotees get so many bright ideas. Krishna came to me in a dream and told me to stop being the head pujari in X temple and, drive a cab in New York City. I mean, no, I don't think Krishna said that to you, frankly. I get devotees. I was sitting with Jayadvaita Maharaj one time at the Prabhupada Festival in LA. And, LA, I love the LA temple. And if you want serious association, you can get great association in LA. Wonderful deity worship, fantastic Rath Yatra. It's a great temple. And if you want to be in Maya, you can find that too. You get what you're looking for. So at the Prabhupada Festival, you get all stripes and types. So I was sitting here next to Jayadvaita Maharaj, and this devotee came up who, frankly, I know does not follow the regular principles. He takes Krishna consciousness light. He doesn't gamble, but the rest is happening. And he told me, so I was sitting next to Jayadvaita Maharaj, and he comes up to us, and he says, I had a dream last night. Prabhupada told me I should become a diksha guru. Now, I'm not very patient. I'm thinking, wait, you nonsense, So I'm about to say something. And Jayadvaita Maharaj says, gee, that's funny. I had a dream last night, too. Prabhupada told me you shouldn't. And I watched the guy's skin just jammed, Like, okay, if that dream is valid, why isn't this dream valid? I mean, we think so many. We had, too much mustard seed in the subject last night. We had a dream that, who knows what's going on. So we have to have it, we pray, and you have it confirmed from Guru and Shastra, Guru Shastra Sadhu. So, but if we pray sincerely, Krishna, please help me. I want to advance. Krishna will enliven you from within the heart. You confirm with your spiritual master. You confirm with the other devotees. You confirm with Shastra. But Krishna helps us. He's real. I was on a morning walk with Prabhupada. Sometimes Prabhupada talked a lot. Sometimes he would hardly talk at all. This particular morning, he wasn't saying much. Excuse me. All of a sudden, Prabhupada stopped, turned, looked at us all, and said, I know you're all atheists, but there really is Krishna. And turned around and kept walking. And just okay, he's got my number. You know? So Krishna's real. And if you pray to him, he yeyatam mam prapadyante. But Prabhupada said, as you surrender, Krishna reciprocates. But Prabhupada said it is not a one-to-one ratio. You take one step, Krishna takes. No, Prabhupada says you take one step to Krishna, Krishna will take 10 to you. So you pray, you ask the devotees. It'll all work out. Okay, I think we should end there and we can talk later on, but I think it's time for prasadam. Isn't it? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're going to say, oh, Swamiji, whatever you say is nectar, keep talking. Okay, what I'm saying is time for prasadam. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Nice questions. Okay, young man, what's your question? So you can set up the prasad and everything, yeah.
What was Srila Prabhupada's target demographic when he was going for trying to spread Krishna consciousness?
He didn't really have a target
He
demographic.
was
No, that's a very good question. Yeah, how old are you? How old are you?
What was it? 12.
And you're asking me about target demographics? Where's this kid's parents? Who are his parents?
The host.
The host.
Yeah.
You take care of this kid. You gotta don't spoil it. Don't turn your brain into vanilla pudding with surfing on this and that and the cable and intoxicate. I mean, you're gonna get under a lot